Hey, everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Fantasy Football Expo podcast interview series. Of course, I'm Bob Lung from the Fantasy Football Expo. That is Matt Kelly. You know him, you love him. Player profile, fast draft, and he's going to talk about everything about it and the expo that he's coming to again this year on board next. Boom, we are back. The Podfather himself, Mr. Matt Kelly. How are you doing, sir?
The Iron Lung. Thanks for having me, man. Bob, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, that's good. I've been called Iron Lung before. I'm honored to say I have been nicknamed by Chris Berman, and even he calls me Aqua Lung. So
Aqualung. Great.
yes,
Love it.
from Jeff Bridges.
Aqualung. Iron Lung's more of a hip hop reference.
Okay, I'm good with
Method
that.
Man.
I got to get more hype anyway. You know, I'm old. I want to be hip.
Yeah. Well, you got classic rock, hip hop.
Yeah,
It's a good
yeah.
situation.
I'm hitting it all. But today I'm wearing my Exponaru shirt for those who want to get your Expo Music Festival shirt. Anyway, we're going to talk more about Matt Kelly and not about me because that's what we're here about. Matt, welcome to the show. Welcome back again. I'm honored to see, have you back again. Behalf of Fast Draft Player Profile coming to the Expo. I know you'll be focusing on Fast Draft, which has been your baby for the last year or so. Love the thing. Got my app. I downloaded. I'm ready to go. I'm going to start doing some drafting here for some best balls. Start getting into this. So thank you again for getting me signed up.
I've
For
been
that.
to drafts,
But
Bob. No time. It's very little commitment.
yeah, I love that. And I always need those breaks at work. I'm an accountant during the day. And, my brain just needs to kick back to a little fantasy football. So I do a quick draft, get back into my taxes and, taking care of people's business. So I'm sure it'll fill my void very, very well for sure. But Matt, let's take a back. Let's go back a little bit here. Talk about your experience of getting into this fantasy football industry. When did it start for you? Who got you into it? Talk a little bit about that early journey of Matt Kelly, long before he was the Podfather. And when did you get started? And who may have pulled you into that?
I don't know, 1991, I think. My buddies and I invented a game. We collected football cards, and we invented a game that was sort of a cross between what we now know as fantasy football and like a Dungeons and Dragons type game. And I was the dungeon master, sports dungeon master, NFL dungeon master, and we would all draft teams. Reggie White and Andre Reed and Jim Kelly and Troy Aikman and all these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Rice. So yeah, I mean, this predates even like Randy Moss and guys like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, this was pretty cool. Steve Young. So yeah, we would draft teams, and then I would kind of play by play what would happen in these games where these teams would face off against each other, virtual teams. And funny thing about what happened is my teams always won.
What?
It was crazy.
It's ridiculous.
Almost always, my teams they eked it
shocking.
out. I think I drafted really well, but also being the dungeon master helped. So that was early fantasy football, back before devices, iPads,
Mm-hmm.
where we did have a Super Nintendo. So it was
Okay.
basically like we had Super Nintendo. We would play Super Nintendo until our like thumbs would get tired, and then we would do like
Or the
manual,
listener,
like
right.
this football card game, and then do something else, play football, whatever it was. And then I started playing fantasy baseball in college.
Okay.
Took over a buddy's team. He was studying abroad in Germany, and it was like we weren't sure if he was going to have broadband there, which was this was even there was a
Dial up
time,
or
everybody, when the United States was the first to get broadband, and every other country was behind us because we invented
wow.
it at the University of Illinois. This was at that time. And so and I was like, I'll manage your team while you're in Germany, dude. I mean, also, the way the time zones are, you're going to be asleep when the lineups are set, like, man, you better let me take care of this team for you. So, or you're gonna be partying. You're not gonna want to.
Mhm.
You're over there with the Germans, so you don't want to. I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
So I picked up Rafael Farcal, like right when he got called up for the Braves. He had like 80 steals in the second half, won the league. So I was addicted after that, and then got into football a couple of years later. Maybe the next year, did a fantasy football league. I was very early at drafting tight end early. I took Tony
Mm.
Gonzalez, and people were laughing at me how early I took Tony Gonzalez. And I was the last to take a quarterback.
Mm.
So I felt very good about that. Again, got ripped in the chat for waiting on quarterback and drafting Tony Gonzalez early, and won that league too.
Yeah.
So,
So you were JJ Zacharias and before JJ. Is that what you're saying?
I
Late round quarterback. Is that where you're heading?
I just had an instinct that
Okay.
this, especially Tony Gonzalez. I think my other first pick,
Yeah, and I
I think
can't
my
argue with
first
Tony
pick might have been
Gonzalez.
Marvin Harrison, and then maybe my second pick was Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah.
And then I was like, yeah, I think I remember there being a bunch of quarterbacks I would have been cool with.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't understand the principles of position scarcity or anything like that
Oh,
at the
sure. Right.
time. It was just sort of instinctual. And so yeah, that's what what ends up happening, where you have some early success in something, whether it be, I can play the piano pretty well, right off the bat, and then you end up getting really into it. So that's what ended up happening. And then I had sold the company, or I didn't sell, but the I had joined a startup after college, a small company, and we ended up growing the company like 100 people, and then it sold, and then ended up trying to figure out what I was going to do next. And then I had this idea to start a podcast back when I started the podcast, the Player Profiler podcast. It was just a phone number that you would call, and then they
Mm.
would record the show and then publish it based on you basically talking into like a voicemail. So it would basically be a published voicemail. That was the podcast. It's called
That's
Blog
interesting.
Talk Radio.
And what year was that?
It's like 2013,
Oh, really? Only that? Only that was 10, well, 12 years ago, but
12
still.
years ago. Yeah. So
Seems
that
like
was
it shouldn't be that, it does that we haven't advanced that far that quickly, but obviously we have.
it happened very quickly, Bob.
Yeah.
Every year it was like stacking innovations on top of each other.
Yeah,
So it was
right.
great. And so I got to the podcast, and then I had all these stats everywhere, and I tried to so basically I created Player Profiler as a way to keep my stats organized for the
Mm.
podcast. So if you look at Player Profiler, look at my player page, imagine that this was built for a podcaster as like a mission control to have information. Basically, it's like a giant confirmation bias machine where I
Hmm.
like a player. Let me look up a stat so I can talk about it real quick. That was how it came to be. So basically, the Player Profiler is like a system designed for podcasters that I just decided to turn around and make public facing, because I was like, I
Yeah.
think other people would like this. And then I started getting crazy about like how well designed I wanted it to be, and I ended up dumping a bunch of money into it. And then I was like, well, I got to get my money back from this thing eventually.
Right.
So, we rolled out all these subscription services. Now we have this amazing like Dynasty
Oh,
package,
yeah.
and a draft kit and so many things. So and now we have a rookie guide that just launched. So check out the rookie guide.
Hmm.
Theo Greminger, one of the great analysts in the industry, just left Player Profiler, but his sort of his final gift to us was this rookie guide. And he's a great, he's a big time volume Dynasty player too. Jax Falcone, a bunch of other great John Lobb analysts that help
Yeah.
to
Love John.
put
Yeah.
their rankings into that guide. So that's really I think something I highly recommend. And
Yeah.
so the advanced stats, sort of was basically coming into prominence in the NFL at that time, and
Hmm.
so Player Profiler sort of rode that wave of advanced stats and metrics and analytics getting popularized finally in the NFL. It had already been pretty popular with places like Fangraphs and others,
Hmm.
with baseball and other sports, you know, but it took longer for the NFL. And now you see the NFL like jumping the shark, where okay, Giants are just letting Saquon go, even though the owner wants to keep him, doing crazy stuff because they think the analytics claim that running backs don't matter. It's like, well, they don't. They do matter. They just didn't matter as much as what would
The
require
wide receivers.
the second overall pick in the draft. No,
Right.
you shouldn't be using the second overall pick in the draft on Saquon Barkley, but he also deserves more money than like a backup safety. So
Yeah.
there's an optimal place in there, and then of course, like every sports league, they overcorrect. Now we're gonna see Barkley now gets credit for winning the Super Bowl, even though it was really more Hurts. But we'll see if that ends up recorrecting this year. Maybe we get 3 or 4 first-round running backs this year. It's very possible. Marion Hampton,
Right.
Travion Henderson, Ashton Genty. I think those 3 are all ticketed for the first round. If we see one more guy, if we can get like Judkins in the first round, then we'll be right back to,
The old days.
2017, like Leonard Fournette, McCaffrey, all these guys in the first round. So I think that'd be kind of cool to see that.
It definitely
I'm
would
excited
be.
for it. And
Definitely
then,
would be.
so after Player Profiler kind of sort of became popular, 2020, Underdog comes out, and everyone's loving Underdog, Best Ball. Everyone imagined Best Ball becoming a big source of innovation in the space. But in the last 5 years, you look around, and it's just crypto pick'ems and this pick'em and that pick'em, and it just fantasy became a conduit for people to get a pseudo betting app to market.
Right.
And most people that play fantasy football are here to play fantasy football, and sports betting is a whole other category, a whole other vertical. So I was pretty disappointed for many years that there was not a lot of innovation coming, because it used to be there was cool new stuff coming out with technology. I mean, remember when Sleeper came out? There's just so many things in the late teens of fantasy football, the DFS boom and all these things. And then I thought there'd be a best ball boom, and there wasn't. So I was like, well, we can make our own best ball boom with FastDraft. And so we can kind of bring back real fantasy where you just draft players and the points they score tally to a total fantasy points in the standings, and then the winner gets the prize. Imagine that, Bob. Imagine that. There's only 50 plus million people in the United States that love that format. So I think there's room for some more innovation, especially after like a 5-year drought.
Definitely.
And so with Fast Draft, you just draft any 6 guys, the top 4 into your lineup every week. It's the most streamlined TikTok version of best ball. There's an all defense game, there's an all rookie game, there's an all flex game, and they're really popular right now. It's all happening right now on Fast Draft. If you just on Twitter, it's at FastDraft.App. If you go to the App Store, it's just Fast Draft Fantasy. You download it, use code Podfather, gets you a $50 deposit match. And join Flex4, join or especially people that are doing Dynasty right now, or they're just consuming a lot of podcasts. There's a lot of rookie content, but there's not really anywhere easy except Fast Draft to monetize that advice. And okay, I have a bold take on Caleb Johnson. I have a bold take on Jalen Knoll. Okay, well there's now a fantasy football draft platform where you can just draft rookies 6 rounds. And you can leverage all that knowledge and load up on the rookies you want, have your receipts. There's a portfolio tab right there. Show your receipts to people. Be like, hey, you don't think I love RJ Harvey? I have 30% RJ Harvey on Fast Draft. You could, the first prize there is $5,000. And so like that had never existed for Dynasty. There was no way you could really leverage your knowledge of rookies. Same thing with IDP. We have a $10,000 prize pool for our IDP game. Which is, IDP guys are finding out about this, and they're like, oh my God, finally someone did an IDP tournament. There are like thousands of IDP people out there that are passionate. So I think we're tapping into those passion pockets in fantasy with this Fast Draft game, knowing that like the Flex 4 and some of these more broad-based games could really take best ball mainstream. And I think that's one of the goals that we have. We have a couple goals: take best ball mainstream, And then also we're reinventing DFS, because DFS I think has been in decline. Salary cap DFS has been in decline the last couple of years because the models are really solving the salary system. So we've moved away from the salary system, and during the year you just can pick any 6 guys, but sorted by ownership. So we just make it transparent. The game theory element of fantasy, make it transparent to people, because that's what it's always been about. But it's always been a guessing game on trying to understand ownership, where we make the ownership definitive, and then you can choose how chalky you want your lineups to be, and then that is much more difficult for big data model systems to solve that particular format. So yeah, Bob, I mean, damn, it sounds like we're fixing all of fantasy football, aren't it?
Sounds like you are, and like you
Yeah.
said, you've got definitely two of the best stuff out there from a, like you said, from a player site, playerprofile.com, folks. If you haven't even taken a look at this, please go do that. Just seeing the stuff you can see without paying for it is amazing stuff, but it's well worth every penny to get into the nitty gritty, especially if you're in dynasties where you've got the rookie guide, the player profiles for all these guys. And the Podfather knows. He's been around for a long, long time, and he's done very well for himself. So definitely check out that site. And
Tony
Fast Draft.
Gonzalez.
Tony Gonzalez. That's it. He knew. He was all over it.
I knew Tony
And then
Gonzalez.
like you said, these fast drafts are perfect for every ADHD like me that just needs that. Oh, I need to do a quick fix. I need my quick fix. So definitely love both of this, Matt. You came last year to promote Fast Draft, its initial kickoff. Talk about coming to last year's expo, your expectations, your thoughts, your feelings about how everything went, both from an exhibitor and from a fan perspective. Your thoughts on the weekend.
Well, Fast Draft's a mobile app, and so I thought, well, we got to have a QR code on our, on our banner, on our signage. And then I had all these. I mean, I can, I had all. I don't know where. Oh God, I had these bags over there, but they're like tote bags. Everything had the QR code on it. And my wife always calls me a boomer, and because I click on sponsored links. You do stuff that people make fun of for being a boomer. I know. I do.
I'm just made fun of for being old, but yeah.
Yeah, I do all the time. So I click on that's my weakness. I click on sponsored links.
Okay.
And then so I ended up getting this QR code that required like $30 a month to maintain the QR code, or we would lose the QR code. And I was like, I'm not paying this just for a picture of a thing. What do you mean? And then so I found out there was free options available. I was just stupid. And so then I had to have these things reprinted. And my wife was just making fun of me the whole time. And she's like, "Let me guess, this was all because you were clicked on a sponsored link." I was like, "Listen, lady, that may be true, but So I finally got everything sorted, and then we got to the Canton Expo, and boom! I mean, hundreds of people signing up at the expo. It was great. Again, we had all these postcards with the QR code, and I could see people scanning it, and I could see people coming to the booth and talking about it, and right then and there, jumping on the app. It was very cool. It was a huge spike in usage from the Canton trip, and so we're going to be back, man. It's great value.
Appreciate having you back. Talk about the rest of the weekend. Did you have fun? Did you have a good time?
Yeah, man. I was very fortunate. So we had a bunch of people that are affiliated with Player Profiler and Fast Draft at the event, which allowed Theo and I to draft in the King's Classic.
You did,
and I believe we won.
Theo won.
Yeah. We won. That was a co-managed team.
Yeah, right.
That was a co-managed team. And
Theo never mentioned that, so I owe you a belt.
Yeah, that was a it was. Well, we were there together. You remember us there together.
I do remember that.
There was a few arguments we had. I remember that we insisted on hoarding 49ers receivers not named Brandon Ayuk. And what I love about that strategy is, even though Debo didn't pay off, because we drafted Juwan Jennings in the last round,
Right.
That ended up paying off more than Debo failed.
Yes.
Right, that's
Right.
the thing. So if you have a good theory of where the opportunities are going to be, you don't actually have to
Hmm.
hit on the exact right player.
Right.
And so we were all in on Pearsall, on Jennings, on Debo, and
Yeah.
it was a smash. And then there was this debate because it was an auction format.
Mm.
We got outbid on a couple players. We got outbid on Barkley, and then I was like, I get outbid on Barkley. What are we going to do? And then Jonathan Taylor goes off, and we're like, oh, man, I'm panicking. And Theo's like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And then he just starts, bidding up Jahmyr Gibbs. And I was like, man, I don't know. Jahmyr Gibbs, I don't know, man. He's, but David Montgomery's there. How could we're going to spend more on Gibbs than they bid on Barkley? He's like, maybe we'll have to do whatever it takes, man. We got to have a running back, and Gibbs could be like the second best running back here. And I was like, okay. And then sure enough, man, we ended up getting Gibbs. It
Yeah.
wasn't. See, that's the thing. It wasn't great value necessarily, but for team structure, for the auction, it was what we needed to do, and it
Yeah.
was correct what he did. So he was like, yeah, this might not be the greatest value, but our team is desperate for this guy, and we're just happy to get him. And then I remember we had no second running back, and we were so thankful, just so thankful to get Jerome Ford.
Mm.
And I remember that in hindsight, we won the league anyway,
Yeah.
but in hindsight, we were bidding up Chuba Hubbard to some ridiculous place. It was like $12. Where in this format, $12 for Chuba Hubbard was crazy.
Oh yeah. I think
And
I
then
was bidding on that
and then we didn't
too.
get him, and then we let him go. And I was like, what? I was like, but if we don't get Hubbard, we have to get Jerome Ford. That's it. We lose without Jerome Ford. Turns out we didn't get Chuba. It didn't matter. Ford was fine.
Yeah.
We did fine, because that's the thing with hero running back is you can figure it out.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, yeah, and everybody has the strategies and that want. And I always say, as long as it wins, it doesn't matter.
You
You're still a
won.
winner.
I got to try to win without Theo this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure you could do it.
See what
Pretty
happens.
sure you could.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you saw what happened to my teams. I went 14-1 in one league, 13-2 in the other league,
So sick.
and got knocked out of the playoffs in the first round. Both of them.
Sick.
Didn't even make it to the finals in either team.
It was. I love the weather there. I love all the outdoor events you have, all the people you meet. So many guys, so many of my friends of mine that I don't get to see at other conferences.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to like the sports betting conference in Fort Lauderdale.
right.
No one I know is going to be there.
Right.
But I go to this conference, and it's JJ, and it's Matt Harmon, and it's Rich Rebar, and all my friends that I've been doing podcasts with for 10 years.
Sure.
So yeah, it's a great event.
Love it. All right. Well, you're coming back this year. Any new plans? Any new ideas?
Jeez, man, I
What do you
thought
got?
I
What do you
did
got
pretty
planned
good
for the
with Player
booth?
Profiler and Fast Draft. What are you trying to milk me for another idea? I gotta try to. I'll come up with something. We are for Fast Draft. We are rolling out like a traditional best ball tournament.
Okay.
That's 15 rounds.
Okay.
But imagine a regular, traditional best ball
Mm-hmm.
tournament, but twice as fast.
Okay.
So that's
Like
that's
15
something.
seconds a pick, 30 seconds a pick,
20.
20.
20 seconds a pick, and then the simulations we're doing, the drafts take about 20 minutes, which is, again, a big improvement on, listen, fantasy football doesn't need to be about grinding, okay?
Right.
Whether it's DFS, whether it's best ball, it doesn't need to be a grind. Like, if
Right.
you actually say to yourself, this game doesn't need to be a grind, there's probably ways to get it done. So yeah, that's what we're doing. We got a lot of partners that are promoting it and playing. You're in there now, drafting. So I think that we have a lot of analysts that are in there playing, and now they're going to be sharing their exposure and showing people who they're drafting. And so Fast Draft's actually going to become a way for people to kind of share the receipts on the players they like.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're working on a bunch of share features inviting friends. So there's a lot of things that we're doing with the app that are exciting. So
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. So, Matt, before we take out here, thank you again for being a part of the show. Thank you again for being a part of the expo again this year. We're super excited to have you and your team. Tell everybody everything they need to know: websites, Twitters, Instagrams, everything. And we'll take it
yeah, I
out from
mean,
there.
most places we're either at Roto Underworld or at Player Profiler on social media. And playerprofiler.com is the advanced stats and metrics site where you can go to data analysis and download and analyze pretty much every advanced stat you can imagine: yards per route run, air yard share, all those things. And there's a lot of premium tools there to help people crush their fantasy leagues. And we're happy to be a sports media company that also operates a fantasy platform, and in that way we're unique. And go to the App Store, go to Google Play, download FastDraft, the FastDraft.App. We also have the Dynasty Dominator, which is another app we have in the App Store, and the Breakout Finder, where we put our breakout model right there in the App Store. So lots of Roto Underworld related products in the App Store on Google Play. FastDraft, I think, is the priority. We're in most states now. We're going to be rolling out Pennsylvania very soon, the non-Ontario provinces in Canada soon. So everyone just kind of stay tuned to our socials for that. And I think that this is the next thing for fantasy football that everyone's talking about, FastDraft. So
Totally agree. Love it. Thank you again so much, everybody. Once again, I'm Bob Lung with Fantasy Football Expo. Don't forget to get your tickets. Got to get them soon. I know it's it's 4 months away. Yeah. And you'll blink, it'll be 2 months away. So get your tickets. Prices go up May 1st. So make sure you get on all that. Check out the closing here as we go for all the other information. And once again, I'm Bob Lung. That's Matt Kelly. Thank you again for being here. Take care. God bless. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for watching. Lock in your 2025 football tickets now at thefantasyfootballexpo.com. Hit subscribe and check out one of these excellent at FF Expo videos next.